talks about not only neglect of the arts by the state and the patrons, but also the general apathy of the public, ignorance and neglect. This is really disrespect of the artist. So, which made things worse. So perhaps her vision of Kalakshetra had to do something with that experience of Pudukota, which she saw when she was a young girl, where artists were prized as public treasures, and everyone from the Maharaja to the simple farmer thought it was his or her duty to support the artist in some way, because art was indispensable to life. This is a difficult concept. As we all know, we can prove that a doctor is essential, an engineer is essential, a techie is essential, a plumber is essential to society. But how do you prove that an artist is essential to society, indispensable to society? Unconsciously, perhaps, I think Atte created this sanctuary where so many of us grew up. Many of us grew up here, not only for the arts, but also a sanctuary for the welfare of humankind through the arts. The thing is, I think like the people of Pudukota, Atte felt responsible for art and artists. And she thought they must have a place where they can be creative, where they can teach and inspire young minds, and where they are respected and not wholly commercialized. Now, with this kind of attitude, we can imagine how she gathered so many different artists whom I had the extraordinary good fortune to see in one single place. Can you imagine walking into a campus, looking at M.D. Ramnarayanan singing under some tree, and Budalur Krishnamurti Shastri playing the Gotu Vadyam somewhere else, Shamba Shiva Iyer playing the Veena. You can't imagine a world like that today. You hear the sound of the mridangam, the flute, everything happening under the trees in total silence. And in those days, you could hear the waves as the backdrop. Today, of course, you can't. So, honestly, when I was there, I had no idea that I was getting so many benefits. So many of us did, much more than me, many of you. Is it disturbing? I shouldn't move. I think I should just look straight. Yeah, no, I think I'll try and just keep your time. Oops. This is okay now? All right. If I don't move, I think I'll be okay. So I think it was, watching all these people, learning from all these great gurus. And the wonderful thing about Kalakshetra was that the best, the oldest, the most veterans among teachers taught the youngest. Budalur Krishnamurti Shastri actually taught little kids, Atte thought that we should be inspired by greatness and we should not learn from disciples. We should have the exposure to the great gurus. So I think that was wonderful. The other thing that we all learned in Kalakshetra, without any effort, growing up in Kalakshetra, without any effort, was standing under the banyan tree with a community of teachers and students, reciting, singing the prayers of every religion. Nobody had to teach us that everyone was equal. There are no caste, creed, gender bars. Just saying those prayers was enough. We knew that devotion and spirituality did not build walls, they broke walls. There is an idea also that Kalakshetra was an ivory tower. Personally, I thought it brought the world in. We may not have gone out to the world. Not many people went out to the world anyway. Mylapore people stayed in Mylapore. Triplicane people stayed in Triplicane. There was not so much of going and coming as we have today, right? So an Adyar might have seemed like a hermitage and a sanctuary, but the world came to Adyar. Every important person in the world, and my seniors who have seen much more than I have, prime ministers, queens, statesmen, scientists, writers, musicians, artists, from across the world came to Kalakshetra. Many of them came to work in Kalakshetra, like Paul Storm, and she mentioned somebody called Ted Bowers who came to actually help her. He was a great architect from England who came to lay out the land and help her to design the cottages. Okay, so many Western names. There was Serge Brizzy who came from God knows where, somewhere in Europe, Holland or Netherlands, just to work all her life as a clerk in Kalakshetra. So we just met so many different people from different parts of the world. And naturally we knew about the world, geography and history and politics. One example of politics, you would think that Kalakshetra is a place which is so far away that we won't know anything about what's happening in the socio-political world. But the Tibetan refugees, Atte gave them shelter in Kalakshetra. We got to know that the Dalai Lama actually came and stood in front of all the children and told us a story. Now, what do you learn then? You learn that art is compassion and that every artist must take responsibility for those who are oppressed in any part of the world. So these are the things that you learn in an institution, which you may not be able to learn if you go to a single music teacher or a single dance teacher and learn from them. Then the other thing is, Kalakshetra had a fellowship of teachers who became role models for us. Some of them are here, like Chandru and now. When Atte said, for people with enthusiasm, there are no hours. We work because it is our work. If you want to create an atmosphere, you have to think of the perfection of the work, the welfare of the young people, not of ourselves. She was actually describing the real people in Kalakshetra. We remember Padmasini teacher, Maraktam teacher who relentlessly stitched costumes, the gardener, the session who rang the bell and who was a friend to every one of us. Also the teachers like Ashan Chandu Panikar, Pereshar the teacher, veteran Budulur sir who was there before anybody else came to Kalakshetra and sat in the classroom. So she's Shankara Menon who simply exemplified nobility. I think they gave themselves to the shared vision. Since you studied in an institution, you got the impact of all these wonderful personalities who gave themselves selflessly and joyously. I will stop this with one small memory of Rukmini Devi just getting down from the car and going to the office. She just saw me walking past and she called me and said, can you carry my books? So I was carrying my books and she asked me something, I was answering, and suddenly she said, shh, look, golden aureole. And you know, Atte's face was suffused with rapture. She looked, and that moment I knew what our prayer meant. Oh, hidden life, shining in every creature, you know. So I think they inspired by the way they were as much as by what they taught. Now I want to ask Priya something. You had no connection with Kalakshetra. And you come from a school and a teacher who did not have great appreciation for the Kalakshetra style or aesthetics. Why did you want to be the director of Kalakshetra? How do you identify with Rukmini Devi's aesthetics?
I come from the lineage of two teachers. My gurus, Sri S.K. Rajaratnam and Srimati Kalanidhi Narayanan. I will not agree with you that they did not see eye to eye with Kalakshetra, because I don't think those technical details were important to them, because what they taught us as students was integrity of purpose. The art is greater than the personality. Conviction in what you do, generosity of spirit, where you are accepting of all around you. You might have your views, but you don't, it's not a cruel judgment of what is around you. Because both my teachers, not at any instance, have either commented in a negative manner about another student in my class, in our class, or another teacher, or another individual, or another style. I can say it with great pride, because this is what they taught us, that generosity of spirit and positivity. Because after all, we all live and practice art, and art grows and thrives where there is surrender, where there is conviction, and where there is commitment. And to me, that is what Kalakshetra represents. Because as a soloist, as a student who learned from traditional gurus, I mean, Kalanidhi Mami was, it was not an organized institution when I did not learn in an institutional setup. Both my Vadyar and she didn't run schools. They taught individual classes, it was always one-on-one. After Vadyar passed away, I mean, as long as we were performing with Vadyar, everything was looked after by both our teachers, whether it was, handling of compositions, whether it was, what we were being taught was what was performed, and we did not directly interact with the musicians. So it was always, there was the large presence of your guru in every sense of the word. It was after his passing on that when the decision to become a soloist, when I ventured on that journey, I realized what all is needed to make an artist, whether it was understanding language, whether it was understanding lyrical compositions, whether it was understanding music, whether it was understanding jatis, everything that goes into what a dancer, what it means to be a dancer. This was a slow, very painstaking, and a very challenging process, and I'm sure there are many dancers here who don't have the benefit of an institution who go through that journey. It's completely, swimming against the tide. So to me, when I came to Kalakshetra, it was, this is what a dancer needs. This is what an artist needs. And what I always feel the moment I entered, you leave the world behind you, because there is an entirely different world. A world which is in tune with your environment. A world where every action is sacred. To me, that word sacred is sacred. Why? Because when I watch Thangamani Amma making the kolam in the mornings, that very act of cleaning the space in front of her, the very act of complete conviction and commitment in placing those dots and making that kolam, to me is sacred. When I stand under the banyan tree, sit under the banyan tree with all the faculty and students, and when you see those upturned faces in song, in tune with all the birds singing, the sunlight streaming through the branches, the wind rustling the leaves, there is a certain stirring within you that is inspired by that moment, and there is this calm stillness. To me, that is sacred. And when what this institution where everything is provided, I mean, Srimati Rukmini Devi, how did she know, I mean, whether, providing resources for language. They learn 3 different languages, Sanskrit, Telugu, and Tamil, and apart from English, of course, and the different subjects that are taught. Music plays a very important role, the most important role along with dance, and where the system of, it is the Gurukula system exists over there, where there is, you are in tune with your teacher at all times of the day. Where a wonderful setting where all the resources that are necessary to make you, to inspire to be an artist is provided to you in such a beautiful, harmonious, and inspiring environment. And I would even go further to say, and that is why Kalakshetra, I mean, all the alumni, I hear them say, it is not just about being an artist. It's about inspiring the young mind. Where there are spaces in Kalakshetra where you can escape and, into yourself. And there are spaces where you can blend. There are spaces when you can spend hours just looking at the environment around you. Or you can spend hours practicing, spend hours over. It's a place where learning at every level is paramount. It is opening the young mind, inspiring the young mind, and in such a beautiful environment, to me, to call it an institution itself seems a very banal reference. And I feel that Kalakshetra Foundation is truly the pride of our nation. And I hope that all of you will agree with that.
I know, I would love to read a small extract that I brought, which connects with what Priya is saying. This is from a talk that Atte gave to young people again in Orlando, which has such terrible memories for us now. This was maybe in the 1950s, where she says, people connect spirituality with suffering. How often people say Christ was great because he suffered greatly. Would Christ not be as great if humanity did not betray him and if he did not suffer so much? We don't realize that we can learn through happiness. We don't realize that there can be evolution only with happiness, not through suffering. And when we understand this, we will understand the place of art. The artist feels a sense of unity with all life, with nature, animals, everything, and finds, this is what I love, and finds the third eye. I would rather call it third eye than intuition, she says. Finds the third eye to see beauty, which is truth. Remember, Shiva is both artist and yogi. He expresses truth and beauty and peace as artist and yogi. I thought, in such simple words, talking to a foreign audience, she was able to summarize her entire philosophy of art and what inspired her to create a place like Kalakshetra.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's the, what as artists is truly inspiring is to see the attention to detail, the commitment to excellence. There is no compromise. If something requires years of study before there is an understanding, so be it. There is no shortcut, there are no half measures, and I'm proud to say that till today, in Kalakshetra, whether it's the faculty or the student, this attention to detail, this practice of training for excellence, quest for excellence remains.
I wanted to ask you, what are your plans, what is your vision for the future of Kalakshetra? How would you like to see the institution grow in today's world? I mean, Rukmini Devi is no more. She has left her values and her ideals. But we live in a completely different world. So what would you like to do?
I'd like to just say that when I came in, for me it is what I hear, the memories of those who lived during her time. Kalakshetra is not only the Rukmini Devi College of Fine Arts. There are two very venerated schools. One is the Besant Theosophical School and the other is the Besant Arundale School. Then you have the Crafts Education Research Center. Then you have the Rukmini Devi College of Fine Arts. Kalakshetra today is an institution of national importance by an act, the Kalakshetra Foundation Act, under the Ministry of Culture. That is, it's an autonomous organization. What is important to me is to retain or nurture and protect the spirit as I understand it from all that I hear from the alumni, from the faculty, and what I see in the students. In the schools, I meet so many very eminent citizens from all over the world who become young students when they say, I am from Besant School. the memories they share is the absolute freedom and happiness with which they spent their school years. How they would climb the top of the tree, and the principal used to be Krishna Ratnam, sir.
Yes.
And the kind of relationship they shared. They would play tennis with him. He was a great sportsman.
Yes.
And the freedom, at the same time, the discipline that was important. It was not, one is not exclusive of the other.
Yes.
And that is something I understood in Kalakshetra. It is important to be free. It is also important to have a certain discipline in life.
Krishna Ratnam sir, I would just like to share a wonderful memory. I see some Besant School students here. Once he found 2 or 3 of us sitting on a tree. The class was happening below the tree. The teacher came. Somehow we didn't know how to climb down. We'd gone too high. And so the teacher was so angry, he sent for the headmaster. The headmaster came there, looked at us sitting like monkeys on the branch, and then said, the gardener is not here. He's gone out. When he comes back, I'll send a ladder to get them down. Meanwhile, they can hear you if you take a class under this tree. So I thought that was an extraordinary solution.
A wonderful lesson. To me, it is important that the young children of Besant School and Besant Theosophical and Besant Arundale School learn the values of being, independence, freedom of spirit, and the values of discipline. For this, I think what we are trying to do is empower the teachers, because it is important. Teaching is such, it is a profession that can never ever be valued enough. It is one of the most noble professions, and I think it's so important. The good teachers are what I feel this country needs. And we have in the Crafts Education Research Center, we have heard of the Kalakshetra sari, the beautiful weaves and designs of Srimati Rukmini Devi. I'll just very quickly say that when I came in, there were only 3 looms that were in operation. Today, 14 are working. And what is important is this, the coming year, which is the culmination of the 80th year, what we are planning to do is bring out the revival of the Rukmini Devi sari. Because over years, what has happened is the color matching has changed. The ways of weaving has changed, because of which the motifs, there is slight distortion of the motifs. The color combinations have have changed, and the way, the method of weaving has changed. So what we have done is, with a committee of those who are familiar with the Kalakshetra sari, both within Kalakshetra and the weavers, we have color matched. We are bringing back the weaving techniques, and this year we'll bring out between 15 to 20 of Srimati Rukmini Devi saris as a revival. And
Priya.
what? Yes. And we are bringing out publications for the Craft Center, and slowly the brand of Kalakshetra, without compromising or making it vulgarly commercial in its negative sense, in terms of whether it's the kalamkari saris, the different weaves of Kalakshetra, that is what we are bringing out. As far as RDCFA is concerned, I think in any institution what is very important is the pedagogy. And towards that, you see, we talk about style. In an institution, it's very important that all the teachers are aware of what they teach and how to teach it. there should be a certain uniformity of understanding because it's important for an institution. Over and beyond that, the inspirational qualities of a teacher, the way a teacher approaches a student, all that is individual. But when it comes to an institution, it's very important to maintain a certain pedagogy. And towards that, we have started our oral documentation project, where we have invited the alumni of Kalakshetra, and we are documenting right from the Natyarambam and Aramandi. We are trying to bring out what is this essence of what Kalakshetra Bharatanatyam means. So that is one. And we also we had the Murugappa Scholarship, which is a mentorship scheme, where excellence in young students, whether it is towards choreography, whether it is towards performing abilities, or whether it's towards scholarship, we pay the entire tuition fees and bring in an eminent person to individually train deserving students. Then the ministry has, from that scheme, they have started the mentorship scheme. They have encouraged us to start the mentorship scheme where every student of Kalakshetra Foundation has the opportunity of having a mentor. So we have eminent artists, scholars, who come into Kalakshetra as mentors, and these students get the value of their experience and expertise which they otherwise will not get. This is a fantastic scheme by the Ministry of Culture. We have revived the Kalakshetra Journal because it's very, very important that learning, scholarship, erudition, understanding art in all, understanding life at different levels. So the Kalakshetra Journal, and Srimati Lakshmi Vishwanathan is our editor. And we do a community outreach program. Yesterday, or I don't remember, artists, there was a comment that artists should respond and react to society and to the world around us. And I think it is not necessary that you literally translate it in your art and show a situation that is,
contemporary.
But through community outreach, where these students, alumni of Kalakshetra, go to different corporation schools. This is funded by an NGO, where they talk about life skills through art. And it is not about technique, but it is to provide a sense of beauty, to provide to these children who come from economically challenged homes, who come from violent backgrounds. It is to show them that there is a way of life, of beauty, there is a way of life, there is hope, and also through physical activity, release the negativity that they may otherwise have imbibed. So through this community program, and then every month we have lectures, we have workshops, and we also, it is very important that through conferences, through performances, through festivals, that our young students have the experience of watching the greats, hearing eminent artists, scholars, the way our alumni had the privilege of living on campus with so many different persons who were so committed and passionate about what they were doing. The senior alumni had the opportunity to live with them and therefore were influenced by such thought. We want to make that possible for our students in today's environment. And we also have a very wonderful project, the Transformative Arts Project, which is, has been supported by a big corporate company. This is to scientifically, psychologically, physiologically understand what music and dance can do to very young children and to the senior citizens. So through this, Kalakshetra, I feel, should play a very important role in community to build the next generation of young people who are exposed to education through art and whose minds and whose temperaments are honed by a sense of beauty and aesthetics, and for senior citizens to find that peace, to find that sense of purpose in their later years. What I would like very much to say is, you know, actions of young students is very, I mean, the responses, the thoughts of the young students is very important. And when one student said that they wanted the news read every day, today it is a part of Kalakshetra's prayer. The students, one by one, and that's one thing that's so beautiful about Kalakshetra. You start a practice and like clockwork, it gets into your psyche. So every day, one of the students goes up and reads the day's news. It is interesting to see how each one perceives the news. They may read the news item from the newspaper, but it is what they think is important, how they, read it out in their own language, native mother tongue. And at the end, they finish with a thought for the day. And we also wanted a day where we wanted to bring in the alumni of Kalakshetra just for sharing, to come back home to see their home and to relive memories and to be with everybody. What I really want to say is, to me, it is very important as an institution and as an artist, both as an individual and as part of Kalakshetra Foundation, when I see the young faces, the upturned faces, year by year after year, when they walk in with hope, with aspirations, to tell you that your decision was right. You are right to choose art as a profession. You are right to want to go into art full time. Bharatanatyam is not boring. When I watch Srimati Vaijayantimala Bali and my eyes mist over, I think, how does it matter whether Bharatanatyam is relevant to somebody in New York? It doesn't matter to me. When I watch her performing, she changes my life, and that is enough. I feel what is important is to tell the students, you need to work hard. You cannot compromise. You need to set very high standards for yourself. And you need to be open to the world around you. You need to take in positivity and leave the negativity by the wayside. It doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the other person. So I think what is very important is to show the way to these children that I'm talking about dance and music, to show the way that while you walk this very lonely journey, after this canopy, after this great support or the shade of Kalakshetra, your years of education is over in the institution and you walk out, there will be many, many challenges. There will be many, so many things that you have to encounter. But remember that conviction, no compromise, always work hard and keep your eyes on the fact that this art is greater than yourself, and you reach out to it, aspire, and slowly those negative voices will become fainter in your ears, and your voice will become strong enough to be heard. I think that's important.
I just wanted to say that news reading and thought of the day were very much part of Kalakshetra in the past too. And talking about teachers, my last thought that I shared with you, this is my mother's experience. She was a teacher in Kalakshetra. One day she went and complained to Rukmini Devi about a particular student. Romba pollatana pandra. Atte said, Anandi, there are no bad students. There are only bad teachers.
I agree.
So you change yourself. So I thought, my mother found that such an extraordinary experience, and I carry it with me in my, not only in teaching, but in interactions with people in life. So we need to We're going to have a question answer. Should we do the?
I just want to say that today, I mean, just one more thing, that we're very proud to say that Kalakshetra has a new production this year, choreographed by our young faculty Haripadman and Lokesh. It was premiered in Esplanade. We're very proud of it. The music composition was done by Sriram Kumar and Arun Prakash, and all our faculty, our musicians, our dancers, we're very proud to say that this is our production for this year. And
she wants to take question answers.
Yeah, sure.
We will take a few questions. Yes, Akila, you have a question. Okay.
Sorry, one more thing. We also are bringing out a series of publications, what you may call textbooks, for our syllabus, because this is as reference for both our teachers and our students. So for this year, yeah.
Well, thank you for that very interesting session. I just had one, comment to make from an organizer's point of view. You spoke about, I'm not sure it's exactly very relevant from the point of view of the institution-based learning that this topic aims to address, but I wanted to make a comment about, Priya used the word sacred. And as an organizer, I'd like to say that this whole word sacred, I think, sort of exists in the Kalakshetra, even from, the systems and processes that are in place when we organize an event, just working with the theater manager, the person who handles the sound. There's just such a system and process in that, and that sanctity with which it is done is really, really very relieving, I think, both for the artist and for an organizer. I'm sure many in the audience will agree that, you have somebody who will bring the curtain down on time, you have somebody who will manage the sound really well, and I think that's fantastic. But I also wanted to ask you a question about, in the current context, where there are many private teachers, what is the way forward for institution-based learning? And how and why would you encourage young minds to opt to go through education in an institution versus going to an individual teacher in that sense?
I think Priya should answer this question,
Also,
but I would like to
sorry,
say
if I may interrupt, let me also add a corollary to that question.
Yeah.
As to institutions aspire to be Kalakshetra, but it is not easy to be Kalakshetra.
No. It has a heritage.
Yeah, it has the vision, it has the heritage, it also has that whole thing has been a process of continuum. It is not, the spirit still lives on and will live on under everybody's able leadership, even from now, even henceforth. But what about other institutions? Because today we also have to consider that there are a lot of institutions offering courses, degrees. So are those, that's what Akila also is asking, is it advisable to go to those institutions, or is it better to just learn dance from a teacher, like from a school?
I cannot answer this question, but I would like to say that Atte chose the word Kshetra after a lot of brainstorming, Kala Kshetra, because Kshetra is sacred space. So the idea was there right from the beginning. I wanted to say this quite randomly, that even if you're not, sometimes it is possible that those who have not been associated with Kalakshetra, those who did not study there, or those who have no connections there, may feel kind of excluded from this rarefied atmosphere of talking about a sacred space, I think what we can learn from knowing about Kalakshetra is the fact that we can aspire to reach those ideals if we are not able to be there. I don't think anything can bar you from that, The ideals are, they're universal ideals. This woman developed it in this way and created a whole big banyan tree. We can all be seeds too, in our own way. We can plant our own seeds. We can be our own seeds. We can create our own trees. What we need are ideals. And I think you can get that from so many different sources. You can get it by looking at a golden oriole singing on a tree.
Namaskar. I have the following doubt.
You have to answer the question about.
Namaste. I'm Sai Kripa. I have the following doubt. Having been at Kalakshetra for 6 years just under the course, And I completely agree with the kind of training that happens there and the kind of dancers who come with such complete training. But beyond that, does the sacredness of the place, the ideals of Athai, get translated into the personality of beings who come out from there? If so, do they translate it to the society, or does it just stay back only within that place? Outside, how do they relate to the real life society, and how better human beings are they in general? Does it affect them as a person on the whole? Because that's what I think Athai's ultimate ideal was.
Yeah. Sai Kripa, as an alumni of Kalakshetra, I think you should answer it. Because
no,
it's important.
I really feel that it does not get translated. That's my sad feeling, that people who have learned under individuals outside are also equally integrated, or sometimes more integrated than people who have had such facilities, such an ambience, such kind of a training, and such immense integrity being spoken about. But those people are less integrated than people who have just gone under one teacher, who have just taken this art form very seriously. Why is this difference?
I appreciate your frankness, but maybe you're thinking about a small group of people whom you personally know. You may not know. No. Just let me complete what I'm saying. You know, maybe no. And maybe you should look at other people who have passed under the banyan tree and who are not dancers or artists.
I'm saying this with a deep sense of sadness.
They may be making their contribution.
No, I'm saying this with a deep sense of sadness.
No, I understand.
I mean, from a place like this, shouldn't we be having much more sensible dancers, much more sensitive people in the society? I mean, in so many years, an institution which has tried so hard to impart such qualities, have the qualities come out ultimately, or are they only in the texts, in the book, as ideals? The saris have come out, yes. Definitely, the Tataitaha is perfect, yes. But as beings, are we being better human beings?
I'm going to ask Priya to answer this, but I would like to make this remark. Once again, I'm telling you, look at all the students who have come out, and there are so many of us who are making contributions in our own way to society. I don't think you can say that nobody who has come out of Kalakshetra has. There are, and if you have 100 people doing something, only a few will excel. This is true in any institution, any college, any school, whether it's an IIT or engineering, you know. So I don't think you can say that the institution does not produce great students. The institution creates the atmosphere. It is for us. Atte said so beautifully. She said that I planted the seed. It is for the future to see that it turns into a tree. So she planted the seed. Somewhere we should take it, right? No, I'm going to ask Priya to answer.
Madam, when Moraji Desai offered her presidency, why she refused?
Priya is answering. Sorry,
Hey,
Priya is not finished.
We
Priya
want
is
to
not
know
finished.
about it.
Thank you, Sai Kripa. As somebody who didn't grow up there, right, I have met different kinds of alumni, different kinds of students, different faculty with different attitudes. But what has struck me is, forget other things, that there is a certain adherence to aesthetics, okay? Certain way that, a certain behavior, holding yourself, a certain, you start because you have been trained with so many resources under the same roof. You're equipped much more than young students who have learnt from individual teachers, because it takes longer and sometimes all is not provided under for different reasons. But as Gowri Akka says, I think we all go through churning. Kalakshetra is like a family. In a family, you have a lot of internal relationship matters.
Dissensions.
And I don't think that's for public consumption, in my opinion. Within Kalakshetra, very good. But when you go out, I think one should be proud of the institution. That's my
And my take on that would be, I think that an institution or a family or your school or college for that matter can only give you all the influences and the right inputs. I think what you turn out to be ultimately is your hard work. And
Yes,
if you turn out to be a good human being or a bad human being, I don't think you can blame the institution for it, but I think it's your own values, what you've taken out of it.
Yes.
So that I think would be also my
I think
input.
so. I just want to, sorry.
please.
Yeah, please. I can't stop.
Is it all right? Okay. This is a question I had. I heard everything you said, and I've also heard Priyaka speak earlier this month at another conference. I had two different, distinct questions. The first thing is a little historical. Gowriji, maybe you can throw a little light on that, in the sense that you're talking about the generosity of Srimati Rukmani Devi, and as an outsider, as somebody from a very different generation, I hear what you're saying. But we also know historically that the institution Kalakshetra was a normative practice. It was created on normative ideals, in the sense that she consciously selected and deselected people, art forms, or the way it was practiced. So in terms of today looking at her ideals, do you think that going forward Kalakshetra, I know Priyaka just elucidated the various activities that Kalakshetra is now endeavoring. Do you think that this selection and deselection today has a different relevance? I ask this particularly because this conference has interestingly put a Nattavanar Parampara conversation just before this, where they both waxed eloquent about this adherence. I mean, at the end of the session, we got the feeling that this hereditary community held it all together at very many different levels, and that kind of artistry is something that comes with that kind of osmosis and long years of togetherness and practice. I know 4 years of Kalakshetra or 6 or 8 years of Kalakshetra training is somewhat like a Gurukula, but today do you think that that kind of normative selection and deselection has a different meaning, must be re-evaluated at all, or do you think that the same ideals and values, because when she did it, it was a very different time.
Yes.
It was a very different time, and there are reasons why she might have done it. I don't think any of us can competently go into that entirely, but I really want to know, because we constantly hear from the outside, those of us who hear about Kalakshetra, we hear the words like inclusion and generosity and all of that, but we also know that Kalakshetra is a particular brand, it's a particular style, it prescribes to a particular kind of aesthetics. So do you see a certain change that is necessary also in the value system? That's my question.
I have a very short answer to that. Kalakshetra will change with time, because times are changing. Nothing can remain static. The river flows, you can't stop it, right? So that is one very simple answer. The second is that what is happening to Kalakshetra is what is happening to Bolshoi or Kirov or Mata Graham or any other institution in the world. People who launch it have certain ideals which are dictated by the socio-historical, political impulses of the times to which they are reacting. In Atay's case, it was also the great influence of theosophy and sacred knowledge. Okay, so but changes will automatically happen. I don't think we have to analyze it and say that if there was a process of selection and deselection, then is it going to be the same now? Things will change. Priya has, with all her humility and all her reverence for the traditions of Kalakshetra, she is an artist herself. She's a very fine artist. So she will bring her vision to it. And other people who are in Kalakshetra will bring their vision. That most of the people who are now in Kalakshetra are people who have never seen Rukmani Devi. They've only heard about her. So their understanding of Atay's ideas, Atay's ways, Atay's system will be very different, right? And that change is something that we should welcome, so that so long as we maintain what is the core value of any great institution, whether it's Bolshoi or Kalakshetra or Mata or any other institution in the world, excellence, right? And complete focus and meditative devotion to the art that you're pursuing. So long as you have those two values, the other changes which will come, we can't stop them. I don't think we need to worry about it.
As Akka said, change is inevitable and it is normal and natural. It will happen despite all of us.
Yes.
What is important to see is that there are so many eminent artists from all walks of life who come to Kalakshetra today, who interact with the students, with the faculty, And therefore, at some level, influences are happening. I may not teach there, but my colleague from Kalanidhi Mami's school teaches Abhinaya in Kalakshetra. Braga Basil has been teaching Abhinaya for 8-9 years now. So it's how that influence is taken, and the spirit of Kalakshetra as understood and as held, protected by those who have grown up there, who have been born, brought up, how they receive it, and how that gets internalized and translated, and how that is carried on. And that is inevitable. But what is important is to be positive. Before I came into Kalakshetra, honestly, for me, my life was revolved around my teachers and my small world. Kalakshetra, I didn't even, it was not there in my purview of things. But that doesn't mean Kalakshetra is closed. My interaction was, at that time, there was no necessity for interaction. Kalakshetra at no time is closed. But what is very important is, in an institution, to hold it together, there has to be an inner conviction, and there has to be a strength with which you hold the values of the institution. If it's very loosely held, then you're not going to have it for long. But you have to hold it with strength, conviction, and generosity. And that's what I think great senior alumni like Professor Janardhanan, all of them who revive, who train the faculty and the students for our productions, that's the spirit with which they hold it. And I'm very proud to say that. I just want to say one thing. I kept hearing that, government organizations like Sangeet Natak Academy, Kalakshetra, what do they do for the community? Kalakshetra is primarily an educational institution. The kind of activities that are happening engage the many artists and many eminent personalities who come in. So it is not, there is a very healthy engagement that is happening. There are festivals that are being held for the benefit of the students, and also for artists from all over the world to know what it is like to perform in an ambience like Kalakshetra, and to students of Kalakshetra Foundation. It's these kind of interactions are happening, and that is what Kalakshetra's role is. And one very important thing is, somebody mentioned that while we are all talking, there is a very beautiful theatre that's happening, that's being built in Sri Lanka. What about the Bharata Kalakshetra that is in Kalakshetra Foundation? Doesn't it belong to every one of us artists? It is not just Kalakshetra Foundations. It belongs to each one of us. It was the dream of Srimati Rukmini Devi. Why is it not resumed work today? Because of the seamy and dark side of certain vested interests. Why is it, as a community, we are not talking for it? We are willing in Kalakshetra to talk to whoever is interested to come and know how can we make that happen. I am ready. Are you ready as part of the community to build this Bharata Kalakshetra as the pride of our city, not just for Chennai, but for our country? If you're ready, I am.
We just have one last question from Sunil Bhai, and then we really have to move on. It's been a vibrant discussion, but no, I think it was an important discussion to have. We'll conclude with a final question.
Srinidhi had referred to other institutions, not only Kalakshetra here, where dance is being taught. I taught for many years in Ravindra Bharati University, and I taught at the JNU, Jawaharlal University. Chandru Anna also taught at Ravindra Bharati, Baroda University, MSc Baroda, where I also did my PhD. Now these are problems which are not being referred to today, because I believe even when I was in Baroda at that time, I was going to work there, I thought that people should come from Kalakshetra and join Ravindra MSc Baroda. Luckily, Chandru Anna came there. I went to Ravindra Bharati in Calcutta, and there also I brought, with help of Rukmini Devi, somebody from Kalakshetra, Khagendra Burman, to teach there. Because the pedagogy of Kalakshetra to us was very, very important. I was very fortunate that I was able to work with Rukmini Devi. I was able to work with other people who are there and begin to see that this is an institution. The pedagogy, if applied to with whatever limitations and constraints, university will help immensely. They learn Sanskrit, they learn Telugu, they learn Tamil, they learn English also. In universities also, when we teach Bharatanatyam in Baroda or in Calcutta, we don't teach them Telugu, we don't teach them Tamil, we don't teach them Malayalam language, etc., not even Sanskrit. So I believe that institutions which are like universities where we have performed, we have taught, have to bring some uniformity or something from what Priya said very well of a national importance. If the institution has provided a beacon light that you can bring some of the pedagogy to the university, I'm sure it will help. I'm not sure whether universities will produce great dancers. It's not possible because the function of university is very different. Also, there is a way that there is a gap between, say, theory and practice. Universities do help. Even in Jawaharlal Nehru University, when I was talking to Dr. Karan Singh, I said, sir, if you don't have Sanskrit in Jawaharlal University, what is the point? If Sanskrit is not being taught, we are talking of Foucault. We'll talk of the French authors and we'll talk of many others, but we don't talk of our own. And it is very important that universities should have some, I don't think they'll copy Kalakshetra. It's not possible to copy Kalakshetra, but something of the values of Kalakshetra in terms of training, in terms of aesthetics should come to the universities. Thank you for this. Namaskar.
May I now introduce the three scenes you're going to see. One is a Patra Pravesham, for which Kalakshetra is famous. Every character has a particular way of entering, which immediately establishes the character. And the character who will enter today and show you the Kalakshetra style of Patra Pravesham is Hanuman. And the second scene is an absolutely brilliant choreographic marvel. This happens during the Yuddha Kandam, when Rama is fighting Ravana. Instead of showing a bloody battle on the stage in a very literal way, Rukmini Devi brought 4 apsaras from the skies to describe the scene of battle and to say how each person died. And in the description and the reaction of the apsaras, you understand exactly what is happening in the battle and all the emotions are expressed. And the third scene that you will see is something that is not possible unless you have an institution which has artists there all the time practicing from morning till night, giving total commitment. And that is the lovely and wonderful scene, most energetic, Setu Bandhanam. And in this context, we may also remember that Rukmini Devi brought what we call male dancing to the fore, because until then, Bharatanatyam was performed, as we all know, by women. It was a solo performance. And they not only innovated the dance drama genre, but she also created a very, very special place for the male dancer in Bharatanatyam. So you will see all these 3 scenes today. Enjoy. Thank you.
वचो विज्ञाय हनुमान् सुग्रीवस्य महात्मनः पर्वतादृश्यमुखातु पुप्लुवे यत्र राघवम् कपिरूपं परित्यज्य हनुमान् मारुतात्मजः भिक्षुरूपं ततो भेजे शतबुद्धितया कपिः अयं वादात्मज श्रीमान् हनुमान् हरियूतपदयं वादात्मज श्रीमान् हनुमान् सम्पन्नः सर्वशास्त्र विशारदः वीर्यवान् बुद्धिसम्पन्नः सर्वशास्त्र विशारदः यमुवादात्मज श्रीमान् कविरूपं परित्यज्य हनुमान् मारुतात्मजः भिक्षुरूपं ततो भेजे षट्बुद्धितया कविः ततः सुग्रीवसहितो गत्वा तीरं महोदधे समुद्रवचनाच्चैव नलं सेतु अकारयत् सुग्रीवसहितो ततगितगिततां तैतैततां तत सुग्रीवसहितो ततगितगिततां तैतैततां तत सुग्रीवसहितो ततगितगिततां तैतैततां तत सुग्रीवसहितो गत्वा तीरं महोदधे 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 ततगितगिततां तैतैततां ततगितगिततां तैतैततां तत सुग्रीवसहितो समुद्रवचनाचैव कुम्भगिनौ दगुंतणौ तदगनलं सेतुं अकारयतु गुंतणौ तदगुंतगिनौ समुद्रवचनाचैव कुम्भगिनौ दगुंतणौ तदगनलं सेतुं अकारयतु गुंतणौ तदगुंतगिनौ समुद्रवचनाचैव नलं सेतुं अकारयतु ततः सुग्रीवसहितो ಘಿ ಸ ತೀರ ತರಿಜಂ ತರಿಗುಂ ತರಿಗಿಡದಗ ಸ ತೀರ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳ ಸೇತುರ ತಕ್ಕದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ಗದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ವಾನರಣ ಘಿ ಸ ತೀರ ತರಿಜಂ ತರಿಗುಂ ತರಿಗಿಡದಗ ಸ ತೀರ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳ ಸೇತುರ ತಕ್ಕದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ಗದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ವಾನರಣ ಘಿ ಸ ತೀರ ತರಿಜಂ ತರಿಗುಂ ತರಿಗಿಡದಗ ಸ ತೀರ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳ ಸೇತುರ ತಕ್ಕದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ಗದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ವಾನರಣ ಘಿ ಸ ತೀರ ತರಿಜಂ ತರಿಗುಂ ತರಿಗಿಡದಗ ಸ ತೀರ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳ ಸೇತುರ ತಕ್ಕದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ಗದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ತದೀಂ ದೀಂ ದೀಂ ಗುಡಿ ಗುದತೋ ತದೀಂ ದೀಂ ದೀಂ ಗುಡಿ ಗುದತೋ ದೀ ಗುದತೋ ತಡಿ ಗುದತೋ ತದೀಂ ದೀಂ ದೀಂ ಗುಡಿ ದಿವಿದ ಗಿಡ ತೀರೆ ದಿವಿಶೇರಾಜೋ ಬಹುಮೂಲ ಪರೋದಗೆ ವಾನರಣ ಕಿಸಾದೀನ ತೀರ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳಸೇದುನ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳಸೇದುನ ವಾಗಿನಿ ನಳಸೇದುನ ಸಾಗರೋ ಭವನ ಗಗನೋ ಗಗನಾಕಾರಂ ಸಾಗರ ಸಾಗರೋ ಭವನ ಗಗನೋ ಗಗನಾಕಾರಂ ಸಾಗರ ಸಾಗರೋ ಭವನ ರಾಮ ರಾವಣಯೋರುತ ರಾಮ ರಾವಣಯೋರಿವ ರಾಮ ರಾವಣಯೋರುತ ರಾಮ ರಾವಣಯೋರಿವ
As an artist, I bow my head to the great vision of that truly legendary Srimati Rukmini Devi. And I want to say that I am proud of each and every faculty and student who work hard to protect and preserve her legacy. Thank you.